Do you have a rational? How old are you?
I'm 18.
Okay. Do you have a rational reason to believe in God?
Yeah,
What's the reason?
the fact that, like, for example, the fact that there are, how do I put this? Give me a second. The fact that we have, that there are like constants in the universe that like allow for life to exist in the way that, like, I think it's called fine tuning. The way that, like,
Okay.
if certain
So
constants
because
and
there
laws
are
were, if they were a
yeah,
little bit
because
different, life would not
yeah,
be
yeah.
able
So because
to
there's
exist.
regularities in nature, you think there's an aspatial, atemporal, acausal mind that explains those constants? What do you even take an explanation to
I
be
think that's
there?
the best explanation. I think that's the best explanation.
What do okay, under standard under standard epistemology, an explanation is not going to be understood in the way you're using explanation. Because things that are causally inert are not going to be like things that are in explanatory relations. So when you say God explains like these natural constants and God is outside of space and time, so he's causeless, he can't cause things. What do you mean by explanation there? Because the typical
Well,
way a physicist is going to posit an explanation is an explanon, which consists of mechanism and certain initial conditions, and then other things like, the entities that are in the sample space of theoretical explanatory relation, how they're organized and arranged, and the activities that they're disposed to doing to actually flesh out the explanatory thing. And one of the principles there in like theoretical or philosophy of science in order to constitute an explanation is going to be causal connections. So I'm not really sure what you mean by an explanation. If you're saying that there's going to be an explanation, what you mean by explanation is this equivocative notion of explanation that isn't actually any type of explanation people in like sciences talk about. You're positing this like
the
metaphysically, yeah, you're positing this metaphysically robust
I'm not claiming
type
a
of
scientific
explanation.
explanation.
Yeah, I know you're
I'm
giving
saying
this
what makes the
metaphysically
most sense to
robust
me.
type of explanation,
I'm
and
saying
I'm
what
just
makes the
not
most
clear
sense to me.
why.
And I feel
What? What
we
does
know
make
that the
most sense
universe.
to me, man?
Okay, can I get like something in?
I'm trying to understand what you mean by explanation.
Yeah, I'm not talking like a scientific explanation. I'm saying what
Yeah,
makes the most sense to
I'm
me as
clear
to
on
how
that.
these things could come to be.
So all you mean by explanation is things that make sense indexed to judge? Because if that's the case, I can just say what I mean by explanation are things that make sense to me in particular, and that wouldn't be God. So I would say God can't explain the universe because God fails to make sense to me. You see that has nothing to do with
Why does
explanatory
he fail to
relation.
make sense?
That's
Why does he
just
fail
that's
to make
just
sense to
saying
you?
because it's causal. First, the only type of explanations I'm aware of are causal explanations. God is causally inert, and the way explanation is a scientific term. Explanation is used in epistemology and philosophy of science. So the way
Then
explanation is cashed out is the way I
then
explained
I'll admit
earlier.
I
I
used
don't
the
know what you
word
mean by explanation.
wrong.
You're cutting out a
I'll
lot.
just say my opinion is that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
'Cause I'm having a little bit of service
You're
problems. Can you hear
lagging.
me? Oh, you can hear
Yeah,
me?
yeah, I can
All
hear you
right.
better now.
I'll admit that explanation is the wrong word to use, but
In what
yeah,
word?
that's the way I see it. The most likely way all of these things could have been is through a
Do
creator.
you okay? So when you say the most likely thing, do you even know how to like confer probability? I just want to sign off on the fact you're not just making like a claim of ignorance because I know Bayesian epistemology, philosophy of science. Those are really like the main two ways we, actually infer like these probabilistic claims, right? The way we generate probability is based on like type of discrete mathematics, right? Like Bayesian methods of probability, right? That introduces prior and posterior probability to a frequentist apparatus, and then like obviously the scientific method deals with like probability, right? That's what evidence is, just raising the probability of a proposition. But if you're saying you're not talking about explanations in the scientific sense, and scientific explanations are the types of explanations that confer justification, so you're using like some concepts. I'm not sure if anyone even knows what you're talking about when you say explanation. But it seems like you dropped that. So now you're saying there's still probability, but it's non-scientific. So it seems like you're talking about induction, but I don't
Yeah, I think it's
understand.
just the right term.
but induction deals with natural objects. So I'm not sure how you would induce God exists, given God isn't in the like naturalistic space. How can you confer evidence when the sample of inductions deals with items in the observable space? But sure,
But in my view, God revealed himself into the natural space.
you're lagging again. Why would I believe God revealed himself? Why would
Okay.
you believe God revealed himself?
Because, well, I mean, you don't have to believe it. That's the claim. That's the claim of Scripture.
I'm sure, but why would you believe the claim of Scripture? Why do you believe it? And why should I be compelled to believe
Well,
it?
because I believe that Jesus rose from the dead, and that's if Jesus rose
Look,
from the dead, then that validates the claims he
no,
made
that doesn't.
about
That
himself
doesn't
and
follow.
about God.
Wait. No, that's not true at all.
Why? Why not? Why not? Why
Look,
wouldn't it follow?
okay, so do you even know what it means to say something logically follows?
Okay, he made claims about himself, and he said that he's God, and he said, and to validate those claims, he said
Okay,
that if you
here's
crucify
another
him in 3 days, I'll
here's
rise
another
again.
hypothesis. Here's a
I
more
think that
plausible
lends
hypothesis.
credibility.
It doesn't. Here's a more plausible hypothesis. Jesus is an alien. Jesus has these types of non-common features of his biology that allow him to resurrect. This alien had the desire to lie and trick humanity. So the alien resurrected and made a bunch of other lies to deceive humanity. And the reason that's more plausible is because there's not actually going to be spiritual or these supernatural entities in the hypothetical space. It deals with all natural entities. So due to like basic theoretical virtues of parsimony, right? When we don't include more types of substances into the theoretical space, the aliens hypothesis is more plausible. And guess what? It's also more plausible because we can actually endeavor into the universe and test and make predictions about aliens. We could go into space and research them. If there's an entity that's
There is no
aspatial,
evidence of aliens, though.
atemporal, that
There's
doesn't
no
matter.
material evidence of aliens ever produced anywhere. There's
That
as
does-
much
why
evidence for
would-
aliens as there is for God. None at all.
That's not true. Why
What?
would I believe that?
Why?
Why would I
What's
believe
the
that?
evidence for aliens? What's the evidence for
No.
aliens? Tell me.
I never made the claim there is. You made the claim there is as much evidence of aliens as there is for God. Are you just talking about your
Okay, I
knowledge?
misspoke with that. In your view, from a purely materialistic
I don't think you were
perspective,
listening.
there's as much evidence for aliens as there is for God.
Where are you what are you talking about? Purely materialistic? I'm not a
'Cause
materialist.
your view, you're excluding the possibility of any supernatural element
No, I'm
whatsoever.
not. Where did you get that from?
Because
You can be an
you
atheist
said that
and a
if-
supernaturalist. I'm talking about when you talk about weighing certain competing hypotheses and explaining data, you want to say that there's like some fact about nature and you think God explains it better, right? Initially, you talked about natural constants, and given the fact of natural constants, you think God best explains that. Okay, so now we're going into theory building and theory modeling and plausibility and theoretical evidence. But then you want to also backtrack and say God is not in the scientific space. When you talk about evidence for a hypothesis, when you talk about something explaining something, and the evidence for something explaining something, that's scientific evidence. But you also admitted God is not in the scientific space. So God can't explain anything. And we've already been through that, and how when you talk about explanations, there's no concept of supernatural explanations. They fail to be captured in theories. So they're going to qualify as just so stories. But independent of
So
that,
in your,
right now,
so
what we're
is there
talking
any way
about
for
the
someone to see
resurrection.
what this
Hold on, we're talking
is-
about the resurrection. And I'm trying to give you
Yeah.
a more plausible hypothesis, that being aliens. And I
That's
said
not
aliens
plausible at
are.
all.
Do you
Because you
even
have
know
no
what
reason to believe that Jesus
do you
would
know
lie
what
about that.
plausibility? Wait, okay. What do you think you mean by plausibility?
I mean, what's more likely than not?
No, plausibility is not probability. And yes, I can explain how it is more probable aliens exist. Thank you, by the way, Sage. Yeah. So again,
Why?
back to the
Why is it more plausible?
back to the theoretical virtue of parsimony. Do you know anything about parsimony? Do you know
No.
what parsimony is? Okay, so there's a thing
No.
called parsimony, and parsimony is a theoretical virtue of when two hypotheses or a set of competing hypotheses, and they have equal explanatory power, and one has like a deflative, like economics, or as a deflative number of commitments, it's introducing like postulates that are individual propositions that are actually going to be constitutive of the theory. Now, the reason why this is relevant if the explanatory power is equalized is because if there's more postulates that don't introduce explanatory virtue to the hypothesis, theory, hypothesis, whatever, and there's more commitments, meaning that individual propositions introducing no virtue to the theory have now a greater rate of being falsified to theory because the postulates of the theory are going to be indispensable to the theory as an aggregate. So now, given more commitments, this is like, we can deduce this from Kolmogorov's like axioms. For any hypothesis that introduces more commitments, it's less likely to be true. Right? Basic theorem of probability. So now we know that if something introduces more things that exist to explain the same thing equally, it's less likely that that theory is true, because it's more likely that one of those elements in the theory that constitute the theory are wrong if the explanatory power is equal, right? So this is just like basic economical criticism. Now, when we consider the alien hypothesis doesn't introduce any metaphysically robust commitments. Aliens are going to be natural. They're going to be things that exist in space and time. They have spatial extension. We could just postulate maybe they have like super advanced technology, but it's all going to be natural. When we talk about God, God is first not going to be able to explain anything just due to like Popper's principle of falsifiability. When you talk about things explaining stuff, you can't falsify God because God's non-scientific. So it's not. So even if the resurrection were true, I can grant you Jesus resurrected. That wouldn't be reason for me to believe in God. Now let's consider the alien hypothesis. It's more parsimonious, so it's already more plausible and probable that aliens explain the phenomena. And also, it integrates with known disciplines of philosophy and known disciplines of science. When I say aliens exist, I can search the galaxy for that. When I say God exists, God is aspatial, atemporal, outside the universe. He can't be falsified. He can't be verified. We can't generate scientific evidence. He's not in the theoretical space. So there's no way we can actually give any motivation that's successful in warranting the proposition God exists, but we can for aliens. In fact, we can deduce predictions, novel predictions, that are non-accommodatory for the alien hypothesis. So in fact, the alien hypothesis not only has everything winning against like the God hypothesis, but God's not even in the scientific space to entertain as a hypothesis. God isn't a hypothesis. He can't explain
Why?
stuff.
Why must this conversation be completely like based on a purely scientific view of things?
Okay,
Because
so then
we
you would
both
have
said
to
that
give
God
me your
isn't a
account of
sign,
what you
isn't
mean
an
by
existing natural
explanation.
universe.
Then what do you mean by explanation? When you say God explains something, and that fact being true is motivation for the hypothesis God exists. When you talk about hypotheses, explanatory relations, evidence, that's all scientific. Induction scientific. Evidence implicator is scientific. There's no such thing as non-scientific evidence that I'm aware of. Unless you're going to introduce a new concept that no philosopher successfully like developed, then you probably might win like some type of award, because I've never heard of non-scientific evidence, because evidence is like a Bayesian notion, or technically it's just like a probabilistic notion introduced of the sciences. Like evidence is scientific nomenclature. Science developed the language of evidence. Evidence is a concept of science. There's no other method that developed science. There was no such thing as evidence prior to science. So I don't know what when you say there's non-scientific evidence, I just don't know what you mean by
I never
evidence.
said that. I never
You said,
said
wait,
that.
so then what's the reason to believe in God? You said, why does evidence have to be scientific? You asked me that. I'm explaining how it makes no sense because there's no such thing as non-scientific evidence. And
No, I
earlier,
said
it did seem
what?
like you were arguing for non-scientific evidence for God, but maybe I was mistaken. So what is the reason to believe God exists?
Well, because of the claims in Scripture, the prophecies that Jesus fulfilled, first of all, and the fact that he rose from the dead, and the fact that he claimed to be God, and that he will. I feel that
Okay,
makes it more.
prophecies
It
are
gives me a good
scientific.
reason to believe it. What?
Prophecies are scientific. Prophecies are
Okay.
scientific.
What? How scientific would a prophecy be fulfilled? How would you know the
A
future
prophecy
scientifically?
is just going to be a novel prediction. That's what a prophecy is. And in light of the novel prediction obtaining in reality, that would motivate the hypothesis. That's just like standard scientific like lingo there. I don't like when you talk about hypothesis, making a prediction, the prediction being true, and the prediction being evidence for the hypothesis, right? Let's say under the hypothesis, we have God, and God commands someone to make a prophecy. The prophecy comes true. That's predicted under the God hypothesis. Given that
I
the
I feel
success of the
like
prediction, that's evidence
the
for God,
problem
but
with
there's
the
not going to
problem
be
with
evidence there.
problem with your view is that no matter what someone were to say, there is in your view there's not even a way to prove that God exists. There is
Why do you
no
think I'm an
you
atheist?
don't, it's not even a
Well, look,
possibility.
I never said any of
You
that.
don't even allow the
Ne-
possibility to discuss it because you've excluded
I
every
never said
single
any of that.
means. You,
That's
you
not
really
true.
have. how
That's
would you
not
go
true.
about from your view
No,
to
look,
prove
okay,
that God
what you do,
exists?
okay, there's one thing that I just want to point out real quick. You keep making this very strong claim, and then you actually don't have anything to back it up from, and then you want to shift back to, okay, how do you account for it? Okay, from now on, if you start making these robust claims, I'm just going to pin you on them. I never said that the scientific evidence is the only way you can justify a proposition. I never said any of that. Right? That never came out of my mouth. I said the concepts of evidence are either scientific or inductive, right? And you can argue that inductive evidence is just a subset of scientific evidence. And I said the only way you can evidentially justify a proposition is scientifically. Now that doesn't mean you can't you can not just you can still justify propositions without evidence, right? There's something called arguments, deductive arguments. If you have an a priori deductive argument, right, which is like a strictly logical motivation to believe in God, then you can present me that argument. The issue is right now we're talking about you keep making these evidential arguments. You keep talking about that, like, Jesus resurrected, and you're saying God explains that. That already there being an explanation, scientific. You said there's natural constants, God explains it. Explanation, scientific. God's non-scientific, so there's not going to be ampliative reasoning for God. Now we can talk about non-ampliative types of justification for God, namely deductive arguments. The issue is deduction is kind of complex. I'll try and help you
You
through
saying like the
whether you can try and
cosmological
make a
argument?
deductive argument. Huh?
You saying like the cosmological argument?
Any of those arguments are types of arguments. Those are deductive reasonings. Argument is like a deduction.
So you're saying when you make like a deductive argument, you can't have any evidential elements to it then?
You can have deductive arguments that are based on evidence, but those are going to be just like deductive structured, like ampliative reasons. Like if I make like a claim that if it's raining, then the floor is wet. That's not going to be. You can't introduce evidence there. But if I say if it rains, then the floor is probably wet, that's going to introduce evidence because it deals with probability. If I'm talking about a mere logical relation between propositions, right, atomic propositions, then the relation between the atomic propositions and the operator of the conditioning, right, where if P then Q, right, if it rains, then the floor is wet, that type of logical relation won't have evidence featuring in it. Deductive arguments don't introduce ampliative types of reasoning. They don't talk about evidence at all.
Okay. I
Yeah,
get what
and
you're
I don't,
saying.
and I do study. I'm actually majoring in philosophy. I know a lot of these
Yeah,
philosophical
I feel
arguments
I feel
for
majorly
religion.
outclassed here. I feel
Yeah,
majorly outclassed here on
I
this.
don't think there's a single good argument for the existence of God. In fact, I'm not even gonna lie. Like, even though God's not in the probability space, I think that the arguments dealing with probability for the existence of God seemed more successful than deductive arguments. I don't think, like, I'm not saying it's impossible. It's obviously, well, actually, it depends how you cash out God. I standardly take it that God is logically impossible. But if we're
Why would
talking
you say
about
it's
these, not,
logically? Can you explain why you view it as logically impossible?
yeah. So
So
the
if
reason why I
something
might,
exists, then it's logically impossible. That's a pretty big claim.
yeah. So the reason why I would believe God is logically impossible to exist is because I take it God is a mind that created the universe, right? Or at least that's what I mean.
I think
But
that's
maybe you
the
have the same idea.
I think
Okay,
that's
and
the
the
standard TS position.
yeah, and the way I understand the universe is just space and time. And if Sun's creation, there was God, and then after Sun's creation, there was God in the universe. There's change, meaning there's time. The relata between those two events or instances are going to be temporal. There's a point prior to the universe and a point and a point where the universe exists, right? And if God existed before the universe, meaning before time, and before just means a first, like an instance prior in a sequence of time, but God is outside time, right? He created time, then God can't be before time. There's going to be a clear contradiction. God is before time and God is not before time, or that there's a before the universe and there's not a before the universe. Time is an aspect of the universe. I don't know what it means to say there's a
But
before
we do know
time.
there was a before the universe. Like I feel most people
No, there
in
isn't.
astronomy most people would agree that that's the case. Most like scientists would agree that there was a
No, they
beginning to
wouldn't.
the universe.
That's actually
Why
not a
not?
scientific claim because that's not a scientific claim. That's
That's
a
the
cosmo.
consensus of most physicists, though.
No, that's not. You're
That there was
confused.
a
Trust
beginning.
me, you're wrong. No, trust me, you're wrong in this. What you're talking about is a cosmological claim. If you're talking about, I'm
Hmm.
assuming you're referring to the Big Bang, which doesn't talk about the universe coming into existence. It talks about how the
Yeah,
universe,
that's the
like,
singularity.
well, first contemporary like inflationary theory models of the Big Bang deny the singularity. In fact, most contemporary scientists deny the Big Bang. I actually know multiple PhD physicists who would tell you outright that the singularity is false, and it's inconsistent with the calculus um, used to deduce the Big Bang. Right now, like, no, I'm not sure if there's actually a single contemporary philosopher who still clings to, like, I mean, scientist, physicist who clings to the singularity. But before the Big Bang is just the expansion of the universe. Before the expansion of the universe still existed, right? Again, science isn't metaphysics. Science is not talking about the universe coming to existence. Science never talks about things coming into existence, right? Coming into existence is metaphysics, right? It's the doctrine of ontology, right? And cosmology. When you talk about people who debate the universe coming to existence, not physicists, that's philosophers. The Big Bang just
Uh,
shows how, given radiation in our background from redshift and radiation and microwave background radiation, we can see the universe is currently expanding. If we retracted 13.8 billion years ago, the universe is going to be in a very dense and a hot state. But it doesn't mean that there wasn't a singularity at one point. And I'm just going to say singularity, even though like this is just like the wrong view, right? But the point is, physicists don't talk about if there even is a before the universe. Some do, right? There's some, but those are actually technically cosmological models. Like, if you ever heard of the Big Bounce, Big Crunch, those are actually cosmological views, not scientific. And they talk about, they introduce, like, of course, they integrate very strongly with physics, right? But they talk about like the universe infinitely bouncing and banging, right? Where just, boom, boom, boom,
Isn't
just
that like a
retracts,
widely,
inflates,
yeah,
retracts, inflate.
isn't that a very minority position though?
I'm actually no, actually, I'm pretty sure empirically it's actually the most adopted view right now in cosmology.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty
Well,
sure it
what are
is
the other
actually.
competing views? What are the other like competing
Um,
views about it?
Thanks for the heart. I'm not sure. I don't actually read science like at all. I've read philosophy of science. I don't read like
Yeah.
actual like physics or applied science or any of that. I'm not
Hmm.
interested in science. I'm a philosopher. But yeah, I mean, especially I'm not very interested in cosmology anyways, especially because the view of cosmology integrates too much with science for like a normal physicist, like a normal philosopher to be like, you would actually have to know a lot of physics to actually talk cosmology. But no, like the
Yeah.
universe, the Big Bang doesn't talk about the universe coming to existence. It talks about how the universe expanded due to like scalar fields, right? Like these particular type of inflationary quantum fields that, due to like some, I don't know, I don't really read science, but has something to do with the inflationary fields and how the quantum foam or the fluctuation of scalar fields has like some like quantum mechanistic relation to like inflation. I think the view is like the distribution of energy is like an equivalence. It's a equal. What's it called? It's an equilibrium, and then like the fluctuation of point particles allowed for the abrogation of the equality of negative and positive energy, such that the universe had like entered cosmic inflation. But a lot of that's complex. A lot of that, even just talking about it right now, is way like there's too much. There's actually an insane number of calculus that goes into
Yeah.
into
It's way
physics.
above like yeah. I get what you're
But
saying.
I'm not sure why anything of physics would actually motivate me to believe in God. Like, there's like some people think science is the reason to disbelieve in
But
God.
do do
That
you
makes
do
no
you
sense to me.
believe that do you believe the universe does have a beginning? Or do you think it's eternal?
No. Well, the universe is like, if by eternal you just mean present in every instance of time, and the universe is space and time, like the concept of time is an aspect of the universe. For any instance of time, the universe exists because instances of time are just instances of the universe. So yeah, I think the universe is eternal in that sense. If you're talking about an ontological beginning, like there's a beginning to the existence of the
Yeah.
universe, I don't understand that still, because I don't know what it means to say there's still going to be like that contradiction or incoherence from there being a moment where the universe entered existence. So there's going to be an instance in time when the universe entered existence. So there's a
I think
time
an eternal
before
universe
time.
I think an eternal universe creates a lot of contradictions as well too though.
What contradictions?
Like I mean I might be completely out of league here, but an eternal universe, wouldn't that mean that every single moment we're experiencing now has already occurred at some point?
I think you're conflating an eternal universe with an infinite like regression of causal like elements. I don't think that view is problematic either. Well, it's problematic in the theoretical sense, right? Because again, like the thing I talked about parsimony earlier, if you think there's like infinite events, like infinite causes, but again, like all like you don't have to believe there's infinite events to believe the universe is eternal, because by eternal you just mean, well, at least this is a standard folk way
Give me
eternal
a
is
sec.
used. Okay.
I'll have to go, but this has been a pretty good conversation.
All right.
Yeah.
Have a great one. By the way, everyone here, subscribe to my YouTube. Check out my YouTube. I actually just reached 1,000 2 days ago, but right now I'm at like, I think I'm at like 1,012 subscribers. But yeah, let's continue to like the live share around. We got a good amount of people, more than usual. And you know why that is? For everyone who typically watches my live, everyone knows how like aggressive and ill-willing I am to explain stuff to people. Like I always say it, I like try bashing people's heads argument like intellectually. Right now I'm like actually like I'm trying to take the jacking strike approach. I'm trying to like be more like walking people down like the Danny approach. But anyways, yeah, we have 30 people. We should be able to get someone soon. If you know any theist or any deist, anyone who believes in God, share to them. If not, continue liking the live. If you have any questions yourself, you can request. If not, if you have arguments or reasons to believe in God, of course, request. And if not, maybe people, right? Just like try and share around, because if you're waiting here, we got to get someone up here. Danny helps his interlocutors argue against him. Yeah, I know. That's something I don't like doing. But I'm trying to actually go live with Danny. I'm going to schedule a debate with Danny that me and him could go live together. But yeah, Danny, okay, the thing I dislike about Danny most is just not most, like, because I don't dislike Danny. I'm not saying I dislike Danny, but the one aspect of Danny it's just like repulsive is how charitable he is. Like he allows people to do the rhetoric on him and be like like abusive in conversations, and he just takes it and then he tries like walking your hand. It's just like I don't understand. He has like a million times more charitability than I can ever imagine having. But yeah, even though he does get mad a lot. I actually have a video with him getting mad on my channel. Actually, I think that's my Patreon, but thanks for the rose. But yeah, let's like the live share around, see who we could get up here. We got to get someone up here to talk with. That last person was pretty good. If this live goes well, I might post it on YouTube, by the way. If you haven't already, check out my YouTube. I have great debates with a bunch of philosophers and stuff like that. Not just me, but he blows up when people are dishonest. Yeah. Well, sometimes he's like charitable enough in which he would just act as if he would just undertake what you now said, right? And he's like, okay, maybe I did mishear you. He like does that. I kind of do that now. I used to never do that, but now, I don't do nearly as much as him. But let's not let this like live duck. Thoughts on Kastrup's analytic idealism. I don't read Kastrup. His name is hard to pronounce, but I'm pretty sure he has like 3 PhDs or 2 PhDs. It's crazy. I've never read any of his Bernardo Kastrup stuff. Yo, Kata, what's up? What do you think about Spinoza's ontological argument?
Yo,
I don't
what's up,
remember
bro?
it. I'll probably have to search it up, but look, like all these continental arguments for God are like pretty bad. But yo, what's up?
Bro,
What's up, Kata?
the recent video was so sick, bro. Like with Jack Hamder and Mason. Like that was.
Oh yeah, that was good.
Yeah, no, I like
Dude,
that.
I
I was at work today watching it, bro. Like,
I got it yesterday, Mason. The only reason I posted it is because of Mason. I had the Amdir stuff and the Jack stuff I had to download because then I thought like it was too short, so I wanted to make it like a bit of a compilation of. They're actually like the 3 best debaters in my opinion.
the outro's pretty good as well. I like the outro.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
yeah, I've been putting that on my latest videos. It's pretty nice.
Bro, I'm surprised at how patient Amdir and like Mason are with these people. Like especially the guy at the end, Amdir was debating like,
It's
yeah,
like,
God's God's morality isn't subjective because it's derivative of his nature, which is an objective nature. Like I'm not even clear on what that means.
I mean, it looks like I don't know, there's like some weak sense you can interpret that as like some type of Cornelian realism, but I mean, Cornell realism only applies to naturalism, pretty sure, but it's like some type of like moral axiology. I don't even know what that means. It just sounds
Yeah,
like
yeah, no.
nonsense.
I mean, like, I know.
I'm like,
Do you really think that's the way he was using that? Like,
no, 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 no. Look, I don't think I'd take anyone out of like our circle, like people like Mason G, Mike, Andir, Danny, stuff like that. Everyone on TikTok is like terrible at philosophy. They don't know like anything, especially the theists. But I wanted to talk with who is that guy that you sent me, the Thomist? I remember he tried debating Dr.
Joshi, right?
Blitz
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
Shashi, dude, he literally just gibberates. But yo, you saw the Playside Soul thing, dude. I talked with him before, and he actually like
That guy is a straight
actually, like,
gibber, bro. He
yeah,
was
I
trying to
know.
argue for moral realism, but what he meant by moral realism was just that um, humans and non-human animals are just like disposed towards certain acts, and then those actions which they're disposed to are just like inherent to their nature. And then
Dude, Dart Dawkins has been talking about me for the past 2 weeks, nonstop.
yeah,
There's a video someone sent me about like Dart Dawkins talking about me. You seen this taco dude? I don't know if you saw him, but he DM'd me. He sent me a video where Darth was saying that I'm like a stalker scumbag. Like the same crap. He's saying now that I'm terrible at philosophy.
Yeah, you traumatized him. I really wanted to see how that like debate with you and the other guy would finish off before he came and joined and like derailed.
The Joshua Pelos.
The precept.
Precept. Yeah. Nah, he was not looking well, to be honest.
I mean, he's like
No
genuinely
judgment.
scared, and it kind of like pissed me off at the end how he got offended when you said that he didn't understand logic, and you weren't being like condescending or patronizing when you said that. Like he said that himself, and he kicked you. He's like, "Yeah, we're not gonna do that. You're being dishonest. Come on now, bro." Like such a cop.
Have you seen the new video with that anime debater?
Was it the anime debater MK versus Divinity?
No, it's yeah, there was the one with me and Divinity talking to Osa and that other Time dude. And then after I like tried adding them on Discord and Time added me and I talked with him.
Oh yeah. Was
And
it
it
just
was-
you in the Discord call with
Yeah.
that guy, right? Yeah, I think I've seen that, yeah.
I don't know why the audio like was captured so bad on my OBS.
Well, the
It
audio,
was, like,
yeah, I
turned
was
down.
going to say the audio was terrible in that video. It was almost like inaudible even. Like, it was pretty
Yeah,
hard.
well, it was like weird for me. It sounded like I sounded different, but also like the other guy was you could barely hear him. But that dude was so like, dude, like animated debaters are actually sickening people.
Oh yeah,
fact that,
I
like,
could never
debating is-
do it again. Like they're just straight gibberish, bro. I would rather speak to the priest. So like in Infinity's debate with Divinity, he's like, yeah, that's like my analytical criteria, or like I just like analytically define X as such, and then like it just doesn't relate to like anything because to like how he's saying it, right? Like it doesn't relate whatsoever. He's just throwing words in for the sake of it.
Have you seen the dude named Egyptian Muslim? I think he's called Mob. Could correct me. Mob is here, but that dude is like an anime debater who argues for God, and he's like super annoying. But he said something. He said like a contradiction. Is it tautology? I think he said. It was like he said. Oh no, he said a tautology is a P and not P. So yeah, that's like the same thing. But it was like really bad. When I talked with the dude on Discord too, he was like so cringe. I asked him if you know what a well-formed formula is in logic. He said a well-formed formula is a formula of your argument. I'm like, what the fuck? He also said a quantifier is something that quantifies the numerical value. And I had to put like an image of like Stanford Encyclopedia quantification, like in logic. Like the whole video was just like me
Oh,
embarrassing.
Messi, yeah, I know who Messi is, bro. The guy's
Yeah.
a straight gibber, yeah. They like these guys
Dude.
all copy each other. That's why they're so terrible. Like,
No, but Messi's bad. He just tries to spitball as much sense. Like he just wants to like talk fast. He wants to say as much nonsense as he can fast. And when I talked with him, he was like, "What? You can't track?" And he was like just being like condescending.
yeah, they
when I
think
talked
they
with
can
him-
just like run rhetoric on you, and then that's like the whole debate. That's like it. Like
That's all anime debaters have. That's why I hate it. But come on, let's like the live share on. We got to get someone else up here.
You
I don't
need
know if
to
I should.
speak to that Theist James guy. I think he'll be pretty good to speak to, and he's like pretty well read, I think.
These James.
Yeah, he's just called Theist James. He seems pretty good though. I mean, like he's a continental.
Is that the dude who he has like a mic, right? Like hanging. He has like a beard. I don't know how to describe him.
No, he has like a buzz cut, I think, and I can't tell if he's like black or white. I asked him what ethnicity was. He kind of like looks between the middle. He looks mixed race.
Yeah, I have no idea who you're talking about.
But like he apparently he's like a Catholic author. He's authored his own books, and like he'd probably be decent to speak to if you get like Amdir or someone on.
Oh, dude, I'd love to get Amdir to talk. Dude, I want more Amdir and Mason videos.
Oh, his name is
especially.
Christian James. Yeah. Sorry, my bad. Christian James. Yeah, that guy seems pretty decent. Like,
sounds familiar.
So has Tense fully went off then? I haven't seen him in a while.
He debated Is Mason apparently 2 weeks ago, I think. I didn't see that, but I haven't seen him at all since like a month ago, almost more than a month ago. I haven't seen him in the past month. But apparently people said he's done one debate in the past like month and a half with Is Mason. Other than that, I haven't seen it. He's just like gone. Yeah, I never even see when he's on Discord at all. But
I think he's more focused on his.
Is that the dude who runs the Elliot argument? No. I seen the dude who runs that Elliot argument. Actually, what was it? Was it me, J Mike, and Ruckster were talking about it yesterday, I think? Or maybe it was Monday we were talking about it. Dude, that Elliot argument is actually, it's like there's only two wrong options in atheism. It's like so silly. But I've tried requesting up on that dude's live. He just never, like, he just rambles to the chat for ages. And he never brings me up. But I don't think debating him, just the way he communicates, I just have like low priors and expecting me to have like any fruitful conversation.
I'm gonna bring some Theists here, by the way.
Bet. But let's continue like the live share around. We gotta get someone up here.
I've got a new guy. He's from Discord. He might. He's like a Muslim guy. He's got like arguments for God supposedly. So yeah, he literally just joined. Yeah, he might. He's called Leak. You can bring him up. He's called.
Leak.
Yeah, just Leak. Yeah, he's got like his profile picture on.
Okay. Hey, what's up, Leak?
Hey man, I'm eating a Snickers bar. It tastes delicious. How you doing?
Bet it does. Yeah, what's up? Do you have like a rational reason or maybe an argument for the existence of God?
I mean, I like Ibn Sin's contingency argument a bit. I don't know if I think it's like the strongest argument because I don't think that proving the existence of contingencies is really easy, you know?
Wait, so to be clear, you don't think there can be an infinite chain of contingencies?
No, I don't think there can be an... Okay, so you can have infinite amount of contingent things.
Do you think there's a logical like contradiction?
No, I don't. Hold up. What his argument, Ibn Sin's Burhan says, let's say I have a set of contingent things, right?
Why would I treat it as a BCF, a big contingent fact? Sets aren't like propositions.
Yeah, but I'm trying to show you what he says in the argument. He says, let's say I have a set of all contingent things, right? He says that he thinks that that set in itself, it all calls out for explanation, and therefore you must have a necessary thing to explain that set of contingent things. It doesn't say anything about like infinite amount of contingent things or like a finite amount because he himself thinks the world is eternal, so he doesn't really care about that himself.
Why would I take it that why would I treat a set of facts as an explanandum?
Give me 1 second.
And it's not even clear that the members contained in the set are even going to be explained either by all one thing or by anything.
Sure, right?
For every member in the prior member, look, the only way I can understand explanatory relations is causally. I don't introduce like these non-causal types of explanations. Like it obviously is just like conceptually inflative. They're probably like sui generis. You would have to give me like an analysis of them. There's no logical contradiction in there being an infinite causal sequence where every item in the causal sequence is explained by a further item, such that every member in the causal set is explained. You're saying there's a metaphysical contradiction? It's metaphysically impossible?
Yeah, so when we're talking
And what is metaphysical modality?
Yeah, okay, so we're not talking about like in a chain like an infinite chain, because like I just said, Ibn Sina himself believes the universe is eternal, right? So he doesn't really care about that. I don't really care about that. And he's talking about, so if things are in themselves, contingent things, they don't exist in themselves. They don't have their existence by their very own essence, at least on his view, right?
Oh wait, okay. Let's clarify some of the terms there. I think so.
Yeah.
The essence, huh?
Sorry, I'm just saying.
I'm still over eating a freaking Snickers bar, but what's up?
Yeah, I just want to better understand and clarify the existence essence distinction.
Yeah. So what
What do you
Ibn
mean by
Sina
essence?
means, what Ibn Sina means by a contingent thing is that thing doesn't exist by the virtue of its very own essence.
Yeah, but what do you mean by essence there?
So
Let me know.
that's pretty good.
In fact, actually, I don't even know what you mean by existence there, because in the typical sense, when I say some object exists, I say that it's coordinated in space, coordinated in space or time or something like that, or maybe necessarily both, or at least, generally speaking, I would say for something to exist, it's coordinated in space. That's at least how I would cash out like existence trivially. Like when I say like, when I
that's a really
like the
weird
proposition
view of
I
language,
walked.
to me at least, because like I
That's
don't think that
that's how the folk use existence, because when you talk about like these metaphysical entity, or sorry, these supernatural entities, or aspatial, atemporal, I'm not sure what you might mean by existence there. You would have to like give me an analysis of what that might mean.
Yeah. So when someone says words, I'll just give this as an example. When you say the word cat, right? Can you define cat for me?
I just want to get an
I'm just
analysis
getting a
of what you
point
mean
about
by
language
existence.
so I can make the point about existence. I'm just making a point about language. Like, I don't think that there's an intrinsic way you can define man or woman, for example. Like, well, like the only reason that we use the terms is because they have resemblance relations to one another.
I mean, I have like a disjunctive definition of like woman and man, or
You
what I
define
mean
it for me?
yeah, what I mean by a woman, for example, is someone who identifies as the term use or follows like the feminine social archetype. Thank you for the heart, by the way. That's how I
Okay.
cash out a woman, and for the antithesis is just going to be like the social archetype or like the self-labeling of like man.
So, okay,
That's how
you're talking about gender theory here. So, okay, so let's go by biology. Let's go by.
If you're talking about
female
sex, then
male. Sex.
I would just
Yeah.
talk about like X and Y chromosomes.
So you think that every man necessarily has this particular set of chromosomes in this way?
Yeah, even
Everything
when they
is
have
normal.
like, even when they're intersex or have certain biological mutations where they have certain features that are present of a female, such that we wouldn't typically associate them with a man, maybe psychologically
yeah,
or
I
based
get
on
what you're saying.
priors. They still have the same like male chromosomes. That's how they're identified.
Yeah. So I would say, in relation to that, right, that the reason
But
why
I don't want to derail. I just want to get clear what you might mean
because
by
I'm
existence
kind
here.
of, yeah, I don't really think that existence in itself is like most terms. I don't really think most terms are strictly definable. I think that usually we do it based upon
It's a
resemblance
primitive?
relations. Yeah, I think it's like resemblance relations. Like I think I define cat, but when I you say the word cat, I get the image in my head of cats, and then like that's how
When I say
define
a
the word
cat exists, wait, the issue there is it's going to be indeterministic. When I'm referring to a natural object and I say that exists, and you're using a different concept of existence, such that the taxonomy of existence includes things that are supernatural, which mine doesn't, and you say there's a sense in which when I say I refer to my dog exists, I can understand
my
for every
taxonomy
natural
of
object
existence doesn't really
equally.
have to assume that, for example, a god of some sort exists. When I'm using the theory of
I'm not
language.
saying that.
Okay,
I'm saying
you said
your
supernatural. That's why I kind of.
no, I'm just saying your taxonomy, that your word, like when you invoke existence, it allows like the taxonomy of natural and supernatural entities, which mine doesn't. So when you say something exists, there's no way we're talking about the same concepts, because the concept that is inclusive in your view is mutually exclusive to mine.
Okay, so so you actually do define existence in reference to existence, quote unquote.
In
That
terms
seems kind of
of
circular, though.
coordination in space.
So it's like physical particles, and in particular, like this thing exists because it's like I can point at it basically.
Yeah, it's extended in space, yeah.
I don't really. Oh, see,
But
well, I
look, we
would
can
agree
we
with
can.
you.
That's fine. I think this is
Yeah.
like something I. This isn't like something I normally argue anyways. I was just had my friend like kind of like was talking about this. I got the idea. But yeah, we can. I think that is a problematic like thing to bring up for theists. But independent of that, we can just go back to using existence in such a way in which it does include the supernatural, and we could go back to the contingency argument because I still want to know what you mean by essence.
Yeah. So when I mean essence, right? It's usually when I'm saying it, it's what it is to be that particular thing. So like what it is to be a cat, or what it is to be a dog, or what it is to be a human being.
You just mean fit like satisfies the definition.
Yeah, kind of. Right, I'd say that. So it's
So
kind of like the
wait,
isness, like the whatness of a thing.
okay.
Yeah,
That's so all you mean is like
Because I'm
like
also
certain
a
concepts
nominalist. I
that
don't mean like
map out onto
some.
the object.
Yeah, like I'm also a nominalist. I don't believe in like a like hylomorphic form or something like that. That
Oh, so you
Aristotle.
don't run like Aquinas's other arguments?
No, it's not Aquinas here that I'm using.
Yeah, you're using Evansina's.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the argument is it's kind of it's ontologically it's not dependent upon Aristotelianism or Platonism or anything like that, right? It's you
Yeah,
can
that's
run
fine.
it as a nominalist as well.
did you say?
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Mom.
Go ahead, Mop.
I'm just trying to catch up on is the argument. Like, there's a set of all contingent things, and then,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't think that set can exist at all.
Yeah, I don't think sets exist, so
No, I mean like within set theory, I don't think it can exist.
You don't think such a
Wait, what
set
happened?
could exist, that all contingent things could exist in like a particular set in that way?
Yeah, because you'd have all. So there's like an infinite number of propositions. right?
Yeah.
So those are contingent, and they would be in the set. So okay, try to. It's going to be a little complicated. Sorry if I sound too. Just let me know if it's confusing. So Cantor's theorem says that the power set is the cardinality of the power set of a set is strictly larger. But if you take the power set of the set of all contingent things, and you take all the subsets with propositions in them, you can take the conjunction of the elements in the subset and form a new proposition that is also contingent. And since it's contingent, it would also be in the original set. So you can do this for each element of the power set, which means the original set would have the same cardinality as the power set, which violates Cantor's theorem.
Okay. So you would say that the entire set itself. Okay, I get what you're saying here.
Yeah, I'm watching Deductive. I just wanted to say that. And also, I just want to know if you had a response to that. And also, it kind of seems like you're using existence as a predicate here. I don't know if you are. It just kind of seems like that.
yeah.
If you are, I don't know why I would accept that, because we can account for existence with like quantifiers.
You can define things into existence if you treat existence as a predicate.
Yeah, and I don't really like that idea either.
So those are the two things I just wanted to say.
Yeah. So, first of all, when I'm using the term existence, right, I'm usually using it in relation to, a resemblance relation that we all kind of experience, right? Like, we all know what somebody means when they say this thing exists, kind of, at least have a general sense of it. Because it has that resemblance relation to other things that we also say exist, right? Like the book in my hand right now, I say it exists the same way the book over there exists, because they both have this very similar.
Yeah, we can grant we're
sense of something.
like acquainted
Yeah.
with the concept.
Yeah. So when I'm talking about that in this contingency sense of things, and things being contingent, first of all, I do think it's hard to actually prove that things are contingent to begin with. Like, it's a very questionable.
Are you talking about contingency in like the ontologically dependence
in the
of?
sense that they don't exist in themselves?
What does that
Right.
mean?
So
Like,
let's say, for example, this thing depends upon another thing for its existence. You get
Well,
what I'm
maybe do
saying?
you have a
So-
definition of the expression not existing in like insofar as itself?
So let's think of a different type of thing. You have to think of the essence of a thing first,
wait,
right?
let me ask
Like
this.
fatness.
Can something be
Right.
Can something be contingent and exist in all possible worlds, or hold in all possible worlds?
He doesn't believe in possible worlds. He's
Yeah, I'm a necessitarian.
necessitarian, right?
Okay,
But I think all he's saying is
I-
like this kind of traditional understanding, at least from the medieval to the Muslim tradition, that there are things which exist in themselves. Mainly God, right? And that would just be that he is, identical to his existence, right? There's no causal explanation to God, right? Because he is identical to his existence. And then every other thing therein would be causally explained by something prior to itself.
Yes, so
Right? So it's not a say, right? You're familiar with the term aseity, right, monkeyboy?
yeah.
And I think that's all Leek's trying to say.
Yeah,
right?
that's all I'm trying to say. These things don't have proper
wait.
necessity.
You're-
So he would just
What
be
do we
saying
mean by
something like
aseity?
these other things are causally explained by these like prior things.
That they exist by their very own essence, like that they exist by what they are, by virtue of what they are. Like,
yeah.
I don't think that
They exist by what they are. I'm not sure.
yeah,
I
by
understand
virtue
the
of their
language there.
essence.
Like its existence is not dependent on anything. My existence is kind of dependent on my mom.
Yeah,
Its existence is not dependent on my at all. But it sounds like you're kind of running that thing where it's like something's existence is either identical to its essence or distinct. Is that what you're saying?
so okay, so something's essence, right? If its essence in itself does not entail that it must exist, right? And then I would say from that these things don't have being in themselves because they don't have existence in themselves by their essences. And from that they all get their being from another, right? And that's where from there you would say that they get the being from a necessary being which must exist by its very own essence, right? That's just a basic run through of the argument and the position. Now, it is hard, in my opinion, to prove that everything in itself does not exist by its very own essence. I mean, you can arguably run to like straight up Spinozism or strict essentialism or something like that and totally rebuff the argument, right? But if these things are not existent in such a manner, then the argument does follow, at least logically.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm so clear on the language. So what we mean, like what you mean by essence is just like a definition, right? The analytic properties that contribute to like
This is just like real
satisfying
essentialism.
something.
Like Feza has a book on this, like called Real Essentialism, and it would just be the view that like the essence is, like the definition of the thing. That's like generally the view in the literature, at least.
Yo, I just peeped his name is monkeyboy. That's kind of fire. I just peeped that. Hold on.
Is it kind of like essence is what makes the thing a thing is the whatness of it, and then like
Yeah, it's like the whatness of it, right?
Well, yeah, real essentialism just like hinges on the idea that the essence, or like rather the definition.
Okay, what's is existence like the instantiation of the essence or something?
Yeah. Right.
Okay, it's I don't know.
Okay,
Maybe I'm dumb.
God.
It sounds
So
So
like
you just
basically-
don't believe in a mind in the sense that I
In
do.
fact,
And you just don't like disagree that like doesn't seem like you disagree with God.
I mean, I could tell you what I think, but you interrupt like every literally 2 seconds. I haven't finished one full sentence, I don't think.
Wait, 1 second.
That's
Monkey
not
Boy,
true.
can you like walk me through the
Wow.
entire like what's the dispute right now?
I'm just trying to get clear. I asked him if he believes in God. He said he doesn't know what I mean by God, and I just said like a creator, some mind that created the universe. And then he wanted my account of what a mind is, and then he's saying that God is somehow not a mind but has knowledge. I asked him to like explain what he meant. And then he's
Okay,
talking
wait.
about like the experiential knowledge.
I don't know if your name is pronounced Taurus, but you believe that God has like he has like conscious experiences, he has like beliefs and desires and knowledge, etc. You believe that, right?
I don't. No, beliefs and desires is an interesting, like, I would have to break down exactly what I believe so that you could see the difference. When you say desire, I would say yes and no. What I would say is no, he doesn't have any blank desires, or she, whatever. It's not really gendered. It doesn't have blanket desires like whatever, like you could attribute to human characteristics and desires. What it does have is the desire, in a sense. I personally wouldn't use this word, but some people, I guess, could, to grow, because that is one of the truths, let's say, of what I'm referring to as God, is growth.
Okay, do you
Growth,
think
change, however you want to say it, is one of the only things that's remained true at base level.
do you think that you think God has like conscious experiences at least, right?
So, in a sense, yes, but not in the way that you would assume consciousness for humans. So, when I'm saying consciousness, I'm saying it's a type of awareness. It's a type of understanding of the difference between like you and not you, if that makes sense, or P and not
So
P.
he has that.
Right, and so for that to
Okay.
exist, yes, God experiences and has some sort of
Okay, and you believe that like God makes choices and such, right?
makes choices. Again, is an interesting phrase.
Like maybe he chose to create things, for example.
Yeah. So I could tell you what it is. The choice is always just one choice, and it's either like it's binary. So it could be 0, 1. It could be yes, no. It's only ever between. It's a duality in terms of a choice, but it's always the same choice. So when someone's like makes choices, decided to create, I like in a sense, yes, not the way that everyone's like, God, on a cloud, put up his hand and then decided like, I desire humanity, I desire creation, I'm going to do it. That's not really what it was. It was more of like when water comes to a left or right crossroad as it runs down a mountain and it has to make a choice. You know what I mean? Like, where does the water flow?
Well, I don't think water makes choices.
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, what are you? If it's the initial, if the water is the initial mover, why wouldn't it be assumed that it's making a choice? Would
Well,
you
I don't think
force?
I don't think water has conscious experiences or deliberative, cognitive components or anything like that. So those are the sorts of things
I
that
don't
would
believe. I
understand to
don't
be
believe.
required to make
Did
choices.
you say cognitive experiences? Yeah, I don't think water has cognitive experiences either. It doesn't have a brain. So where are
Well,
you getting with that?
you don't need a brain to have those. At least like logically.
No.
Maybe it's true that anything that has cognitive experiences has a brain, but I'm saying it's certainly logically possible that you could have them without one.
Okay, so then wouldn't that prove that, like what I'm saying about God and first mover?
No, hold up. I'm not sure what you're saying about like proving. I'm just trying to figure out if I understand what you're saying. So like, do you think God makes choices in the sense I'm talking about? Because when you brought up the water example, I don't think water makes choices. And it sounded like you were using it as an analogy for how God makes choices. And if that's what you meant, I wouldn't say that God makes choices.
Sure. What would you say made the choice in my water analogy?
Nothing.
Nothing made a choice.
Yeah.
So are you saying that why? Does a choice require a conscious decision to choose between one or the other?
Yeah.
Okay. And so do you need a brain to have conscious experiences?
No.
Okay. So then I don't see where anything is illogical here.
I don't think water has conscious experiences or.
Yeah, you don't think, but I don't care. Prove it.
So you do think that?
Yeah, I actually do. So
Prove it.
for a lack of better understanding, water actually can hold information, just like crystal structures also.
I didn't say
can.
anything about information. I said, do you
I
think
am.
like?
What
Do you
do you
think
think?
like when
What's
you
knowledge?
wait one
What's
second?
consciousness?
Wait, hang on a second. Do you think like if I pour water in a cup and then I pour the water out, you think like the water is it has like a mind and everything and it has experiences and it's choosing to follow or something?
In that example, no, that's very different though. When water is in motion and it's flowing and has to pick between going left or right at the split of a rock, then tell me what it is.
So you think water is conscious?
I think that water can have decisions made, yes.
Just yes or no, is water conscious?
Yeah, sure. Water has consciousness in a sense.
Wait, what's the argument that water is conscious?
What's the argument that it's not?
Wait,
You're
what?
making the claim. What are you
Yeah,
talking
you
about?
were saying it's conscious.
You're
Yeah,
making
sure.
the claim it's conscious. What's the justification?
Give me your definition of conscious again, because I'm speaking to someone
I'm
different.
happy to use the definition you gave earlier, just like having awareness or something.
Yeah, for sure. So it's been shown that water can hold information. like in the sense of like the way we store things on CDs or in crystals, and that shows that it has to have some type of awareness and
Wait, what do you
understanding
mean
for
by
it to be able
information?
to. What do you mean by information? What do you need me to explain?
Like what? Like
Like
what, when you
information.
use the word information, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, I can mean anything. It can mean like formation of binary strings of numbers that can create
What?
pictures, for example, once they're deciphered.
Well, I don't
Yeah.
think that. Wait, but surely that you don't think water has, like, surely you don't think water has information in that sense.
Water can hold information, yeah, for sure.
But no, you don't think it has information in the sense of like binary strings of numbers.
It could.
Do-
It has all types of information.
do
Depends
you
what it
think
touches.
water? You
depends
think
what it
water
experiences.
has you think water has binary strings of numbers in it somewhere?
Yeah, and it's like general storage memory, if that's
Hey, this
a
guy's a
lack of
troll.
better
Just
word.
like, come on, just. This guy's hilarious. It's like insane. Wait,
Yeah,
where are the strings of numbers inside the water?
Are you saying that water can't hold information?
No, I'm asking where are the tiny strings of numbers inside the water exactly?
Yeah, I mean, the way that they're stored is through inputting geometric shapes into the water. So it's like a code, it's deciphered.
Oh, somebody input this shit.
I know that you're laughing, but you should probably just fucking look it up.
What the
Otherwise, you're
fuck?
just an idiot. Right?
You said inputting geometric.
Yeah. Do you understand how like watches work with like quartz crystals?
Wait, let me make sure I understood what you said. Like
No. Answer the
Somebody's
question.
in.
Do you understand how
let me make
watches
sure.
work with quartz crystals?
What exactly did you mean by inputting geometric shapes into water?
Yeah. What I don't understand what's so hard to comprehend here.
Like what is the inputting of geometric? What are the geometric shapes and what's inputting them?
Yeah, there are different types of lattices. I don't know if you're familiar with crystalline structures. That's what I'm trying to talk about. But
Are you just talking about like molecule structures
It does go back to molecular
or atomic structures?
It does also go back to atomic structures. It goes.
No,
deep.
I'm saying by lattice. Are you just talking about like the molecular structure of water?
In terms of the design.
Yeah, because water is not going to be like the person who's saying in chat. Water isn't going to have a lattice structure.
It does actually, especially when it freezes.
No, when it freezes, yeah, but like not generally. Like when it's in solid form, sure.
Right. So what are you talking about?
Hold up, but I said not generally. But you were just saying that water has a lattice structure simpliciter. I said no, that's not generally true. Like if only when it's in a solid form, presumably.
Right. So can you tell me how it gains its structure if the information isn't there when it's not in its solid form?
I'm not even sure I'm not even sure I understand what you mean by information yet.
Sure. How does its structure form when frozen?
I'm not sure I could explain the scientific aspect of that very rigorously.
Okay. So what are we doing here?
I mean, probably something technical about how the molecules condense together and move at slower speeds at lower temperatures, yada yada yada. I mean, that's rigorous.
Yada yada yada. But you're not talking about the geometry or how they actually come together, which is like.
Okay, let me just go back on track. So, by information, you said you mean strings of numbers.
Yeah, or
like, are you literally saying that the strings of like there are numbers in the water, or were you trying to be figurative there? Maybe I misunderstood you.
Yeah, it's you can get strings of numbers through inputting geometric shapes in the way that it's laid out. It's a pattern.
You don't actually think like the number one, like you don't think there's like a list of numbers in water, do you?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to say no.
Okay, so
but
maybe
everything
you're being, like,
is represented with geometry.
So maybe you're being figurative, right? It sounds like to me you're just saying that water has a certain structure. Is that all you're saying?
Yeah, but water doesn't have a certain structure. The structure of water changes with its surroundings and input.
But like,
That's what I'm trying to say.
Take a water at a particular time. Like at a particular time, it will have a certain structure, even if the structure changes over time.
No, it's dependent on the inputs, not just time.
I don't know what you were saying there, but is all you're saying something like water has structures at different points in time? Is that all you're saying?
I don't know. You tell me. You've spoken.
What do you mean? I'm asking you if that's what you're saying.
That's not what I'm saying. I was saying that water can hold information and it changes.
Say water it's unclear what you mean by information. Much less that water has it.
Yeah, just because it's unclear to you, doesn't mean that it's unclear. I've already explained that it holds different geometric
Okay,
patterns.
but maybe you should
that-
kick this guy off because it sounds like he doesn't really
You're a
have
fucking
an idea
idiot.
of what he's talking about.
It doesn't sound like you have an idea what you're talking about.
No, yeah, that dude was a little silly, but
Yeah, that was like, I don't. I mean, I don't want. I shouldn't have said he was trolling because I actually don't think he was trolling. He just sounds like he's just kind of gibbering.
no, yeah, I don't think he was trolling. Cooked, yeah, okay.